So anybody who is just logging on, again, it is Brittany with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we're going to be going over the Teams platform. So again, the Teams platform is a platform that is provided to you guys by your office. So as long as you are working on a recognized team and your Market Center administrator has set you guys up as a team, you will have access to all of the functions that we're going over today. If you are currently set up as an independent agent, you will not have access to what we are covering today. I am going to be logging in as a Rainmaker. So what that means is I'm logging in as the owner of the team. So I pretty much have unlimited access to absolutely everything on the team platform. I'll also be going over the differences between permissions and kind of what it will look like if you're logging in as something else as well. So don't panic. We're going to cover all of that today. But I am logging in on command. This is the agent.kw.com platform. And then just a mental note, I am logging in using a Firefox private window. Generally, when going through a lot of the functions that you use on command lately, Firefox has been working best for us. If you guys are logging in on a different browser, again, no worries, whatever one works for you, that is completely fine. However, with Firefox, a couple of pop-ups will happen during class. Just don't panic, it's because I'm in Firefox. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and sign in. Once we are logged into command, the first thing I recommend doing is making sure that your team platform is live. In order to do that, if you just click on the top right-hand corner where your name is, you're going to see a drop down. If you have a personal profile and then a team profile, this means that you are essentially set up as a team and you have team access to the team functions. If you are clicking on your name in the top right and you're only seeing one profile, there is no toggleable profile populating. It just means that your team functions either have not launched yet or you have not been added to a team platform yet. If you are a brand new team and you've just been set up as a team, the functions do take 72 hours to launch, and it is a full 72 hours. It's actually 2 overnight feeds for this to populate. This is going to be the same if you were to leave a team, just as a heads up. So if you decide to leave a team down the line, or if you decide that you don't want to have access to the team, whatever it may be, once your Market Center administrator has removed you from the team tool, it will also be 72 hours for this to remove. So that's just something to keep in mind. We are going to go ahead and jump into the settings to just go over some of the options you guys have under the team. So we'll go ahead and click on the settings button. And settings does sometimes take a couple of minutes to load. Perfect. So the second I logged into settings, you guys may have seen that flash for 2 seconds. It just lets you know which profile you're on, because this is something to keep in mind. When you guys are in command and you click on your name and you go to settings, depending on which profile you have selected is going to depict which profile you're actually under settings for. So right now I'm on the personal profile. For this class, I'm going to go ahead and click on the team profile, which is just going to update my settings. So now it's saying I'm now under settings for my team profile. When you do swap over to your team profile, you may notice a couple of differences populate. On our left-hand side, general settings, you'll notice that now team management will generally be available. So this is something that we'll be diving into. For default account, if you are primarily working out of your personal account or you're primarily working out of the team account, default account is going to allow you to select whichever profile you just want to be your default. It's not going to deactivate the other profile. You're still going to have full access to toggle back and forth, but all it means is the second you log in, instead of it being your personal profile, it will just automatically log you in and have the team profile selected for you. So if that's more along the lines of where you guys are functioning as a team, you can come in here and swap it to the team. Click on Save Changes on the bottom right, and that will update for you. For team management, I'm going to go ahead and click on this. If you click on team management and you get a scary gray message that says you don't have access, don't panic. It just means that you are not set up as the Rainmaker, or that you are not set up with unlimited permissions, which is completely fine. It's essentially something that generally only the Rainmaker will have access to. If you are set up as a spouse team and you are both set up as Rainmakers, you will generally both have access to this section. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Also, anybody with unlimited access will also have access to this section. As far as what this platform is going to do for a Rainmaker, this is going to kind of cover the premise of the team platform itself. So once we click on that team management, the first thing you're probably going to see is all of the agents that are on your team. Whether they are an agent, we have our Rainmaker, an administrative assistant, and lead associate. So these are things that your Market Center administrator would need to add into the team tool in order for your, essentially your peers, your teammates to show up under this platform. You do have access on the top right-hand corner to add a member. And this is essentially going to give you two options. And I'm going to go over the process with you guys right now, just in case this applies to you. So if I go ahead and click on add member, it's going to prompt a drop-down list, one of which says add team member. The other one is add guest user. For add team member, this means that you're adding a licensed real estate representative. This is somebody who is going to essentially need to be added into Winmore by your Market Center administrator. They're going to be practicing real estate. They're going to get their own MyKW login, their own command login. This is also going to give them access to a Keller Williams email address and their own DocuSign account. If you have somebody who does not need to be added into Winmore, maybe it's a temporary situation, maybe it's a virtual assistant, maybe it's someone who's just helping out with marketing, they're not going to be touching real estate at all, you can actually add them as a guest user. A guest user will not have to go through the office. They will not have to be added into Winmore. This is also a workaround if you happen to have a virtual assistant that is maybe outside of the United States. This will allow you to add them in without worrying about adding a social security number to Winmore. So this is a great workaround for that. That being said, once we click on guest user, it allows you guys to create kind of like an account immediately. The one big thing that I do want to kind of make clear in regards to add a guest user and add a team member, again, is going to go through the Market Center. This means that this is essentially going to prompt your Market Center administrator that you are adding someone to your team, which then is going to allow them to add them into Winmore and then the team tool. So the turnaround time on that is going to vary based on when you submit it, if your MCA is available, and so on. For a guest user, this is all through command system. So this is going to be a 72-hour turnaround for it to go live. And it's also something that is 100% linked to the Rainmakers account. So it's essentially a standalone account. It's kind of piggybacking off of the Rainmakers platform. So for the guest user, you do have 2 seats available for every Rainmaker. So this is, again, for a mega team, this is something to keep in mind. If you are working on a team that has multiple Rainmakers, that means you're going to have multiple guest seats available. Every Rainmaker on your team is going to have those 2 seats available. It's also noting here in bold, again, 72 hours for it to process, just something to keep in mind. For here, we need a first name, a last name, an email address, and a password. That being said, make sure that you fill this out perfectly. Make sure that the name is spelled correctly. Make sure it's an email address that you have access to. Write the password down because this information cannot be edited. In order to make any change to the name or the email address, or if you happen to forget the password, the entire guest account needs to be canceled and recreated under the Rainmakers login. So there is no password reset. There is no edit option. So make sure that as you guys are typing this in, make sure it's spelled correctly just to avoid any hassle down the line. Once you guys do have this information added, you would just agree to the terms and send request. This will still prompt your Market Center administrator just to let them know that you are adding an admin to your team. However, it is something that is done entirely through the Rainmakers platform. That being said, 72 hours, once that hits, what's going to happen is a confirmation email is going to go to whatever email address you guys plug in here. My personal recommendation, if you guys are using somebody on your team for marketing or a virtual assistant, set this up under an email address that you also have access to. That way, if heaven forbid they decide to leave the team, or if it's just a temporary situation, you can actually continue using this admin login as your own admin login. So it just kind of makes things a little bit easier down the line. So confirmation email goes to this email address. Then they will have full access to log in. You will need to provide the password. The username will be in that confirmation email. Password will not, which is why, again, make sure you write this down. It'll make things a little bit easier for you guys in the future. But once you guys do that send request, everything will come through and it will add them right to your team. So I'm going to X out of this. It will add them right to this list. For guest users, you can also tell them apart from users that have been added by the Market Center administrator, because it will specifically say that they are a guest. At this time, Connie does not have any guests added to her account, so I unfortunately don't have an example. But if you do have somebody added as a guest, it will specify they are a guest member of the team. This is also something to keep in mind. Heaven forbid you do need to remove them, or if they leave the team or anything like that. For guest users, when you click on these 3 dots, it will allow you to just remove them. There is no request. When you request to remove somebody who has been added via Winmore and through the team tool, which again is something only the Market Center administrator has access to, when you click on request removal, this is going to prompt the Market Center administrator. You can also just touch base with your MCA if you happen to be in-house. They can do it then as well. So that's kind of how you guys can add and remove people from the team. As far as permissions go, I kind of want to go over a little bit of the basics with permissions. You'll notice here that the Rainmaker is locked into unlimited, which is completely normal. That's how it should be set up. We also have drop-down lists for the other people who are on the team. So we have standard, enhanced, and unlimited as options. For standard, that is essentially the standard permission that is given to anybody who is added to the team tool. So whether you do it via add member or the MCA does it, standard is how they're going to be added unless they are added as an additional Rainmaker. That being said, enhanced is just going to give them more access to the team platform itself. And I have kind of like a breakdown that I can share with you guys too in a second. And then unlimited is going to match the Rainmaker's access to a point. In regards to permissions, and this is a question that we get frequently, so I'm going to go over it again later in class, but I want to address it now as well. In regards to opportunities, this is a very common question that we get. They have nothing to do with permissions. So in regards to opportunities, if you are adding opportunities through the team profile and other members of your team are trying to gain access to opportunities, they would need to be manually added as an assignee to that opportunity in order to see it, in order to have access to it, in order for it to show up on their opportunity pipeline. As the Rainmaker has 100% access to every single opportunity created under the team as a default. So they don't have to be manually added. They don't have to be tagged or assigned. It happens automatically. As long as an opportunity is created under the team, Rainmaker is going to have 100% access. You guys don't have to worry about that. Unfortunately, by giving unlimited access, that is one thing that will not change. You still need to manually add somebody with unlimited access to an opportunity if they are not the ones creating it. So perfect example is Leisha is set up as unlimited. That would still need to be done for her. As far as the permissions breakdown, if you are signed in as a Rainmaker, you do have access to the team management tab and then the permissions tab, which will give you kind of like a brief overview of each section as well as full permissions. So the full permissions is essentially a bullet point list that's going to break down exactly what each permission has access to. So you'll notice team management is only unlimited. Contacts, you'll notice that standard has very limited contact access. Enhanced pretty much covers everything. Smart plans, tasks, it breaks everything down. You'll notice that standard permissions is very, very standard. It does limit what they will have access to. It also limits what they'll have access to do once they add their contacts to the team. So it's definitely something to keep in mind if you are planning on running all of your business through the team profile. If you guys are not set up as a Rainmaker and you don't have access to this list, the notes that I posted in the chat, right at the top, there is an understanding permissions tip video, and then also a full breakdown provided by Keller Williams International. So you guys still have access to this. And if you guys are watching the recording, notes are hyperlinked right at the bottom for you guys. So you also have access to this document. So now that we've kind of covered the team management section, I'm just going to go down the actual settings on the left-hand side with you guys before jumping into some of the options on opportunities and contacts. So for starters, I'm going to minimize that and we'll go into our command settings. In regards to applications, For applications under command, most of these platforms are going to be directly related to your personal profile versus your team profile. And we're going to go over how to add some of the social media platforms to the team specifically as well. They're just a little bit further down. But as far as the platforms that will need to communicate with both, for example, DocuSign, if you guys are using Dotloop, if you guys are using Command Mail or MailChimp or Twilio, these platforms will automatically use whichever profile you're essentially trying to trigger them through. So they are smart enough to kind of jump back and forth between different profiles. The platforms that are 100% only connected to your personal profile are the ones under productivity. As of right now, there is not a way to link these profiles or calendar, Gmail, Outlook. There is no way to add these to your team profile yet. I'm not sure if that is something that is to come in the future, but as of right now, these applications will only work with the personal profile, just as a heads up. Everything else will essentially kind of correct itself based on where you're running your information through. For contacts, this is a big one. For contacts, when you guys come under contacts, you'll notice that you have a contact archive and a database wipe. For contact archive, this is specific to the profile that you are on. So if you guys are looking to delete your archived contacts, and it is a delay, so if you guys click it and it takes a second, don't panic. But if you guys are looking to delete archived contacts and you're getting an error message when you're importing, or you're getting an error message when you're manually adding a contact and it's saying this person already exists, this email already exists, chances are they are hiding in an archived section. When it comes to archived, you'll notice that we have 9 archived contacts here. However, if I swap over to our personal profile, there are none. So the archived database is completely dependent on what profile you are selected on. So again, if you guys are seeing that duplicate error message when you go to import contacts or add contacts, check both of them. Also make sure before you do a database wipe that you are on the profile that you are trying to do the database wipe on, because it is very unforgiving. If you click on archive all contacts and you happen to be on the team profile, but you are trying to do the personal, it's going to archive all of your contacts on the team profile. So it's just something to keep in mind as you're kind of going through this. For contact tags, lead sources, custom fields, these are Rainmaker specific platforms and unlimited permissions specific platforms. As far as creating tags and lead sources and custom fields under the team, you need to have unlimited status. We have seen some cases where enhanced has access to edit, however, they cannot create new. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. So Rainmaker or somebody with unlimited status will want to make sure that they are maintaining and managing that. For lead routing, we do have a tip video that goes over how to set up a lead route. I am going to go over that with you guys right now, just so you can see what it looks like, because this is a fantastic tool for teams. As you guys are starting to accrue leads, whether you guys are running paid campaigns or maybe you're just using landing pages, whatever it may be, excuse me, you guys have access to set up a lead route, or the Rainmaker has access to set this up, where as those leads are being captured, they will automatically route out to the team accordingly. So this takes a huge load off of the Rainmaker to manually assign these leads out. And it also makes sure that they're essentially getting nurtured as quickly as possible, and they're not accidentally getting lost in translation. So in order to set up a lead route, you'll notice that we have a couple from past classes. All I'm going to do is go ahead and click on Create Route on the top right-hand corner. And I'm just going to walk you guys through the process for this. So for the route title, I'm just going to put in test class. That way Connie knows that this is not a legitimate one. But as far as this goes, if you guys have not set up a lead route before, today I'm going to be going over how to set up a lead route for every single lead that comes in. Once you get familiar with them and once you start dabbling with them, you can also set the route based on the source of the lead. So depending on how you guys are setting this up, feel free to also put in like Facebook leads or open house leads, or however you guys plan on essentially capturing your leads. I'm gonna do the date too. So as far as our set routing rule, these are essentially the way that these leads are going to be routed out to the members on your team. Keep in mind on the notes, there is an entire article/tip video that we've done that go over this as well. So don't panic. There's also full breakdowns of what each of these actually cover. If you hover over the eye, it's also going to give you a quick description. So in other words, random is going to do exactly that. It's going to randomly assign an agent on your team to this lead. It does not give it to the same agent twice, which is fantastic, but it is completely random. You have weighted random, where you can kind of number the people that are on your team, and then it's going to give them a higher percent for that random lead to end up assigned to them. You have jump ball, which means that it's going to essentially send it out to everybody at once, rapid fire, and first come, first serve. So the first agent to claim it is going to be the one that actually gets awarded that lead. Then we have round robin. Round robin is going to allow you to send it to an ordered list. In other words, this is the one that we're going to do today because I personally think it's the most confusing. But round robin is going to allow us to essentially select the list of agents on the team and send it out to them accordingly. So, and I'm going to break that down once we get to the actual route section, but that's the one we're going to do today. And then the last one is assigned to agent. If you want to set up independent lead routes per agent, I've seen teams do this as well. As you can kind of see below, we haven't really dumped into it yet, but you have days, hours, minutes, seconds from when it expires. We're also going to have it access to select the specific day. So in other words, if you want to send all leads that are captured on Monday to John Smith on your team, all leads that are captured Tuesday to Sally, whatever it may be, you can actually set it to assign to the agent based on the day, based on the hour of the day. You guys can make this as specific or as general as you want, which is fantastic. There's a lot of editability here. We're going to keep round robin for that one. So setting an actual schedule for these lead routes. You can set all day, every day. If you want to hold off on sending leads on a specific day, you can also uncheck specific days. That's completely fine. My personal recommendation is if you're going to set up a lead route for every single source, which is how we are doing it today, I'm not going to uncheck a day because I want to make sure these are going out as quickly as possible to all of the agents on the team. As far as times go, the times I'm going to customize these. This essentially means when the lead is going to be routed out. So in other words, if you are running a Facebook ad and somebody decides to provide their information via that Facebook ad at 3 o'clock in the morning, this means that lead is going to go to that poor agent at 3 o'clock in the morning. And if you have it set, so they're set up on a time limit, for example, an hour, this is currently set to 3 minutes, which is very, very low. But even if you do it for like an hour or two, that means that this agent would need to accept that lead between like 3 and 5 a.m. Probably slim chances of that happening. So by setting kind of like a time frame for this, what it means is it's not going to start the actual route until this time frame. So whether you guys want to do 8 to 6, you can do 8 to 8, you can do 8 to 10, whatever you guys want. But all it means is it's still going to run Monday through Friday. However, any leads that come in from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m., it's going to hold on to them until 8 a.m. before giving it to the agent and giving them a chance to actually contact the client. So it just kind of makes things a little bit easier. So they're not worried about missing a lead that comes through at an odd hour of the night. The system kind of takes care of that for you. For the claim deadline, as previously mentioned, 3 minutes is very, very low. In regards to the actual routing process, we've seen it can generally take up to 10 to 15 minutes for a lead to actually route itself out. So giving the agent only 3 minutes to accept, the chances of them having an opportunity to accept it is just very slim. So for this, I generally recommend doing like a 2-hour limit or something along those lines. That way it's a little bit more realistic. That means they have 2 hours between 8 and 8 to actually accept this lead. I'm gonna go ahead and click on next. From here, we have access to manually select our source, or you can select all. Again, as you guys are getting started, if you haven't set up a lead route yet, my recommendation is select all. This means any lead that your team platform captures, it's automatically going to be captured by this routing tool and then route itself out accordingly. By selecting specific lead sources, if you leave a lead source out and a lead happens to be captured, it will not be routed and essentially prompted to your team. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. By selecting all, you'll then be able to go back and kind of see what sources you guys are using to capture leads if you're not familiar with them yet, and then come in here and make them a little bit more specific once you have that data. But to start, select all is just going to cover all your bases and make sure everything is taken care of. And go ahead and click on next. Once we are to this point, keep in mind we did do, what did we do? Random? I can't even remember which one we set up now. The one that we selected, this is essentially allowing us to now kind of give a number to our agents based on how we want them to obtain these leads. So in other words, the one that we have set up now, we would give, say, we'll select all of our people, and it automatically triggers them based on when I clicked on them. So like Connie would be number 1, Leah's number 2, Leisha's number 3. What this means is as leads come in, Connie's going to get them first, Monday through Sunday. We have a 7-day setup. She's going to have 2 hours to accept it from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. If she rejects it or just takes longer than 2 hours, it's then going to go to Leah. If Leah accepts it, then it goes to her. If Leah misses the 2-hour window or rejects it, then it goes to Leisha. So this is just something to keep in mind based on how your team is set up, because we have had teams reach out saying, for some reason, so-and-so is getting the lead first every single time. It's because this is how this specific one is set up. So just kind of keep that in mind as you guys are going through and setting up all of the platforms for lead routing. This is the round robin, just came back to me. So for round robin, that is how it will essentially set itself up. You can also kind of swap these out. You can move people around, but that is how it will function. It will always go to number 1 first. Number 1 has X amount of time to accept or reject. Then it goes to number 2. However, if number 1 and number 2 are very good at accepting the lead, number 3 is likely not going to see any leads come through. So it's just something to keep in mind. Once you guys have made all of your edits, you would just go ahead and click on save. It does automatically make it active for you. So you'll notice it drops it right at the top for us, ready to go. And if I wanted to either deactivate it temporarily, I can deactivate it and it's going to drop it under my pause section. I can also come in here and make edits at any point in time. I can archive it entirely, or I can duplicate it. So you guys have full access to come in here and kind of tweak that accordingly. This is something, again, that only the Rainmaker will have access to set up. So if you do have an administrative assistant you are looking to have set these up, make sure that you either provide your login and or unlimited status should technically have access to set this up, depending on how they were added to the team originally. But if you guys run into any issues setting up lead routing, just let us know and we can take a look. And again, on the notes that I dropped in the chat and that are hyperlinked under here, I have breakdowns of every single type of route rule, as well as some additional tips. And then also a tip video that goes over the entire process with a couple of the options as well, just in case you guys need that. But that's how you guys set up lead routing. The next section is opportunity settings. For opportunity settings, thankfully, most of this is going to overlap with your personal platform. So you do have access for client updates. It's the exact same thing as your personal platform. So if you guys are using them on that profile, you can essentially toggle over the same information to your team. It's taking a little bit to load, but you'll notice that there's essentially 2 separate teams and you guys can set this up accordingly and it will allow you to use the client updates. We also have opportunity tags. This is something that only the Rainmaker will have access to add in. Opportunity archive, same thing as your personal profile. It's where all of your archived opportunities kind of sit just in case you ever need them again. Team permissions. For team permissions, this is something only the Rainmaker is going to have access to. If you guys are having trouble with people on your team having access to create opportunities, this is where it is. This is where the issue is. As far as team permissions under opportunity settings, again, this is a Rainmaker special. This is something only the Rainmaker will have access to, but they can essentially toggle yes, no, or selective agents for who can create personal opportunities under their account. So if you are planning on funneling every piece of business through the team profile, generally no will be selected, which is completely fine. It just means the opportunities that you create through your account will automatically default under the team profile. If yes is selected, it means that agents will have access to select the team when they're creating an opportunity, but it will not be mandatory. And then you can also select specific agents if you maybe have an agent that is in the process of transitioning onto or off of the team. I recommend checking their name off here. That way they can either finalize existing transactions or they can start new transactions outside of the team. This will allow them to kind of continue their business and make sure that all of loose ends are tied up prior to either being fully added to the team or removed from the team. Because keep in mind, if you have no selected, it will block, say, Leah's all of her personal opportunities. She will no longer have access to those. So if she is in the process of joining a team and has existing opportunities, it's essentially blocking her team or her personal pipeline on the opportunities tab. So just something, again, to keep in mind. Underneath that, we have our campaigns. I'm going to skip over reporting because that is also specific to your personal profile. But underneath our campaigns, we have default campaign accounts. This is where you guys can actually select which platforms you want to be your default accounts when running email campaigns, when running paid ad campaigns. This is kind of where all of that information pulls from. So if you guys are looking to set anything up for the team, you'll notice that maybe if multiple profiles are linked up, or if you need to connect an account, or if you want to select whichever landing page marketing profile is going to be used for everything, all of this gives you access to adjust that. So command mail too, you can select if you have multiple options here for Rainmakers. MailChimp, if you're using MailChimp for email campaigns, keep in mind, MailChimp cannot be used for smart plans, only for email campaigns. You have access to connect to the account here as well. So just something to keep in mind. Then we have our smart plans. This is something that I just want to go over with you guys really quickly. Minimize that. So underneath smart plans, this is again something that only the Rainmaker will have access to. However, it does depict how every piece of marketing is going to be sent out through the team profile. So this is very important. When we come into smart plans, this is showing us how tasks, emails, and MMS or SMS text messages are sent. Meaning that if you add contacts to the team profile as an independent agent or as an agent on the team, and you're adding contacts to the team profile, they will not have access to your personal smart plans. So once you move contacts from your personal database to the team database, not only will that allow you to now make a team opportunity, but it also means that your marketing for that particular contact profile will need to be funneled through the team profile because the contact is now under the team. So this means smart plans. If you had personalized smart plans under your personal profile, you would need to either have the Rainmaker create a duplicate for you, or generally Rainmakers or marketing assistants will have smart plans kind of already created for you guys on the team. But if that hasn't been done, you'll want to make sure that is updated as you start to move your contacts over to that team profile. But this is going to show you how they're actually sent out. If you haven't started dabbling with smart plans yet, don't panic. We have an entire class that goes over the smart plan platform. But in regards to tasks, what this is saying is that when John Smith on the team, not the Rainmaker, but he's just an agent on the team, if he adds one of his contacts under the team profile to a team smart plan, it's going to allow those tasks to be assigned to him as he is the contact assignee. He's assigned to that contact. If Rainmaker is selected, it means that all of the tasks, even though John Smith is assigned to that contact, are actually going to get assigned to the Rainmaker. Same thing for email and SMS, MMS. If you are sending out a smart plan through the team platform and Rainmaker is selected, it means that all of the branding for that email is going to pull from the Rainmaker's marketing profile instead of your own. So this is huge. This is something to definitely keep in mind. So if you are going to be funneling most of your contacts out of the team database, I may recommend having your Rainmaker confirm that the email is swapped to contact assignee. So as you're sending those mass emails through smart plans to your contacts, it has your contact information on it. For SMS, MMS, this is kind of a, depending on how your team is set up, this will vary. So how it's set up currently is it's saying that every single text message is going to go out as the Rainmaker. When you have it set up like this is kind of the workaround for a team to be able to share a Twilio account. If you haven't started dabbling with Twilio, again, don't panic. You can set that up at any point in time. But if you are already using Twilio, this kind of allows you guys to share a Twilio account. Keep in mind, if you do have it set up as Rainmaker, it is going to use that same Twilio phone number that is set up under the Rainmaker settings. It's also going to use all of the Rainmaker's credits, meaning that if you are funneling multiple smart plans through this and you guys are sharing the Twilio account, maybe keep that in mind when you are signing up for that credit system and make sure that you are purchasing adequate credits in order for all of those smart plans to run, because you'll notice obviously more contacts are being funneled through. So that's just something to keep in mind. In regards to the email too, this is also going to use the credits available for command mail. So again, smart plans can only be run through command mail. They will not run through MailChimp. So if you are running everything through the Rainmaker, not only will branding have the Rainmaker's information, but you're also using the allowance set up for command mail under the Rainmaker's account. So in other words, you guys have 5,000 emails a month given to you guys by Keller Williams International for command mail. And if everybody's running it under the Rainmaker, again, just something to keep in mind as those numbers deplete, you may need to purchase additional emails through command mail, which is doable, 100% doable. You can do it all through settings, but it's just something to keep in mind that you guys are essentially sharing an allowance if you have the Rainmaker selected here. For the Rainmaker option here, you'll notice that Connie's selected. She's the only Rainmaker on the team, so she's automatically the default. Again, if you're a spouse team or you're set up on a mega team with multiple Rainmakers, just make sure that whichever one you actually want on the branding, if you guys are using Rainmaker as the option, is the one that's selected here. And if you guys do make any changes, save changes on the top right. So that's pretty much it as far as the settings platform goes. I know that was a ton of information. From here, we're going to go ahead and click on our contact section just so I can go over what this looks like and how you guys can interact with the contacts on the actual Teams platform. I'm just waiting for it to load. And then I did just get a question that I can answer really quick too. So someone had asked, how do you make a specific lead route a default? There isn't really a way to make it a default. You would want to make sure that your lead routes that you set up do not conflict with one another. So unfortunately for the lead routing portion, there is no way to set it as a default. And then we also got a question in regards to campaigns. It looks like campaigns are only available for teams. Is there a way to add them for an individual profile? There is. You would just want to make sure that you're on your individual profile under the campaigns tab, and that's how it would set it up. So as far as campaigns go, as long as you are on your individual profile under campaigns, you're essentially setting it up under your personal profile. And keep in mind, as we kind of go through this, so for contacts, the same thing is going to apply. As long as we are on our team profile, on our contacts, our team contacts are showing up. If I toggle over to the personal profile, personal contacts are showing up. This is going to be the same for multiple tabs on this corner. As far as the options right now, it's contacts, tasks, smart plans, and opportunities doesn't allow you to toggle. Designs, none of these will either. So if you ever second guess yourself, any tab that you're on, if you click on the top right and it doesn't let you swap over to the team, all it means is that it doesn't matter. There is not actually a separate profile for a team member. Everything would essentially be run as your personal account. But for contacts, we do have that toggleable option. So I'm going to stay in the personal account for a minute just to show you guys kind of how to move contacts and what this will look like as we move them. So if you guys are on the team profile, I'm just toggling over to the personal one just to show you guys some items under the contact section. For here, one of the things I do want to go over is moving contacts from your personal database to the team database. Something that you guys all have access to. However, just keep in mind that if you are bulk moving contacts from your personal database to the team database, it will remove those personal smart plans. It will remove tasks. It essentially kind of wipes all of the marketing that is set up on that contact profile in order to move them over to the team. So just kind of keep that in mind as you guys are doing that. In regards to the contacts here, you'll also notice that we have tags in place. When you move a contact from a personal database over to the team database, the tag is going to automatically default as a legacy tag. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like and how to kind of navigate that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and select a contact. I use Rachel Green. So if I want to move Rachel Green over to the team, there's two ways I can do this. I can either select Rachel Green, click on bulk update, and just change account. And this is going to allow me to select up to 500 contacts per time. So by checking it off, you can also mass check, or if there's a bunch of contacts, select 500, remass check all of them, and it will allow you to bulk move contacts up to 500 over to the team profile. Keep in mind, there is no undo for this. If you decide to bulk move your contacts from your personal database to the team, in order to move them back, they either need to be one by one moved back, or they need to be exported, deleted from the team, and then imported into the personal database, which again, you will lose the smart plans, you'll lose custom fields that were added in tasks. But as far as the actual data goes, notes, emails, phone numbers, all of that will be exported when you export those contacts. Permissions are also going to play a huge role in this. So before you start moving contacts from your personal database over to the team database, confirm what your permissions are set up as. If you are set up as standard permissions, once you move a contact from the personal database over to the team, we have not seen a way to actually move it back over. You don't have access to export contacts if you are set up with standard permissions. So it's something to keep in mind. But if you are looking to only move one contact over, you can either do it this way with our bulk action and then change account. Connie, we would just select the team account and then change account. We can also do it if you just open the contact profile, especially if there's only one. If you open your contact profile, we can click on the three dots next to the pencil and change account. When it comes to moving contacts from the team back to a personal profile, this is how you can do it. So it's actually the same process. So we would click on change account, same screen pops up, and we select our team and change account, and that's going to move them over. And I'm going to go ahead and move Rachel Green over so I can show you guys what it looks like on the team. We get our green ribbon. Now you'll notice Rachel Green is no longer in here. And just to show you guys how this kind of navigates, I'm going to go ahead and just type Rachel into the search. And you'll notice here, nothing is showing up, didn't return anything, but I have this bar that says there is one contact in the team that matches my search. I can go ahead and switch to my team account. And there's Rachel Green. We just moved her over from the personal database to the team database. That being said, you'll notice our previous tag was team class, and now it's showing up as a legacy tag. If you do not have legacy tags added to your columns under the team, I'm going to show you guys how to do that really quickly. If you haven't added this in, this is how you guys can add it. Once you're on that team platform, just make sure that you are on your team profile and you're on contacts. All we're going to do is click on customize columns. And then we're just going to want to scroll down to where you see legacy tags, which is, it's usually the last one. Once you add it, you can kind of reorganize where they populate. But if you haven't added it before, it's usually down towards the bottom. And once you check it off, you can drag and drop on the right where you want it to populate. For sanity's sake, I figure having legacy tags next to regular tags makes the most sense. So that way you can see them right next to each other. However, you guys can move it wherever you'd like. And this is also how you guys can just update the view anyways. If you guys want to come in here and add or remove anything. I'm going to go ahead and click on apply. And then you can go ahead and click on save smart view changes. And that will actually lock in the smart view for whichever option you guys have. If you want to add your columns for all contacts and you want it to show up as a default every single time, just make sure that you select whichever smart view you guys want to update this on, and then you'll save right over it and it will add in legacy tags permanently. So for this section, now that I have this person moved over, Rachel Green is now in my team database. I have my tags, I have my legacy tags. The only thing that I want to mention in regards to tags versus like legacy tags is tags are they're permanent. They're essentially something that is going to stick with that contact. If you had a system tag set up on a personal contact and you move it over to the team, you'll notice it stays as a tag. it actually will transition over because it is a system tag. If you used a custom tag, which a lot of agents tend to use custom tags to make them a little bit more user-friendly in the sense that you guys can customize that however you see fit, those will automatically bump to legacy tags. Once they are added as a legacy tag is meant to be temporary. So in other words, once you guys have that legacy tag added, it is the intention that you will come in here and re-tag these contacts as the actual legacy tag. So it does need to be done manually. That is something to keep in mind. We do have a tip video that goes over this as well, and it is in the notes for you guys just in case you need it. However, keep in mind that you don't have to panic and rush to do this because legacy tags are not just going to automatically delete themselves, but I am going to show you guys what it does. So legacy tags will always be this color. If you previously had like a pretty red tag or purple or green on your personal database and you move them over to the team, you'll notice legacy tags are always going to be white and blue. Always. It removes the color the second they become a legacy tag. That being said, they are still filterable. You'll notice if I click on this, it's still going to pull up whoever actually has that tag. However, they're not named Rachel. So it still pulls up anybody who has that tag. If you click on a legacy tag, they're still able to be used for filters. The only issue is you'll notice that you can have a duplicate tag versus a legacy tag. So my legacy tag has a lowercase t, my regular tag as an uppercase T, and that's how, so I can show you guys the actual filters that are set up. So if you guys have an overlapping legacy tag, you can go into filters and you can actually pull it up under tags. This is going to allow you to find every single contact that has that legacy tag, and you can then manually bulk reassign a new tag to them. One thing I will recommend, as you guys are creating team tags, as your Rainmaker is creating team tags, make them colorful. Choose a custom color. Don't stick with this blue and white. Try and make them all purple, or if you want to do different ones, red, green, purple, blue, whatever colors you guys want, because then when you come in here, you'll be able to tell, and past client is actually a perfect example. You'll notice here, we have a couple of them, but past client, this is actually the legacy tag. This is the team tag. So this will allow you to kind of filter based on whichever tag you guys need. So legacy tags will always be this color scheme. So as you guys are creating those custom team tags, use a color and it's going to make it that much easier when you're filtering. But you guys do have access to manually tag contacts. So if I pull up the legacy tag for those, I can bulk select again up to 500. And our bulk action is going to allow us to add tags or even remove tags. So you guys can actually maintain your tags in bulk now, which is brand new. That is not an option that was available before. This used to have to be done one by one through the contact profile. So this makes it much easier. But you guys do have access to do that. As far as contacts that are being moved over to your team profile, if you scroll all the way over to the right, it will state who the owner is and who the assignee is. Generally, when you guys are moving contacts from your personal database over to the team, you should remain the owner of the contact. However, if you are mass importing contacts, you have an option. So if I click on import on our contacts tab, you'll notice that contact owner, you'll want to make sure that you can manually select yourself. That's actually a great way to confirm how your permissions are set up. So if you have a drop-down list and you're able to select yourself or you're able to select the team, it means that you have at least enhanced permissions. If you go to click on import and this is grayed out and the team name is locked in here and your name is locked in here, it means that you are set up with standard permissions. And it means that when you import these contacts, you will no longer be the owner of the contacts. So this is something to keep in mind when you are importing. If you ever provide a list to us, our support team, to format and get imported into the team, we will double check this and we will not import contacts if this is grayed out. So in other words, if you have standard permissions, we will touch base with you prior to doing any import to confirm that's how you guys want them to be imported. But if you guys want to double check your permissions set up, this is a great way to do it. Only standard will have it grayed out. Enhanced will allow you guys to select who actually owns / who should be assigned. You'll see drop down list for both of them. X out of that. Last but not least, under the actual contact section, I wanted to go over lead pool. This is something that I'm realizing a lot of teams don't realize you have access to. So as far as lead pool goes, lead pool is kind of where all of your leads actually get added as you capture leads as a team. So if you do not have a lead route set up currently, and you've had leads captured by the team platform, this is kind of where they sit. This is where you guys can come in here. You can come in and you can manually assign these out by clicking on the 3 dots. You guys have access to assign to. You also have access, or the Rainmaker and unlimited permissions have access to send lead to routing. So in other words, if you have a ton of people in here, they can also bulk select, again, up to 500, and they can force leads over to lead routing. So if you guys have leads sitting in here that have not been assigned out yet, don't panic. You don't have to sit there one by one and assign them out. You can bulk send them out to the lead routing platform. You can also do this through the contacts platform as well. So if there are, say, like a list of 50 contacts that you guys got from an open house and you want to send that through lead routing, if you import them, just make sure they have a specific tag set up, and you can actually filter based on tag. Pull up our team class. So for example, like if I pull up team class or whatever it may be, I can actually bulk select my contacts and force them through to lead routing. So that's something just to keep in mind. Again, that's something that only Unlimited/Rainmaker will have access to, but it is a great option just in case you guys have like a file that you want to import and you know you're going to want to run it through lead routing. You don't have to do that individually. Don't worry, you guys can import it and we can essentially get it formatted, imported for you, and then you can come in here and send that to lead routing. But that's how you guys can essentially capture the leads, view the captured leads, and then make sure that they are assigned. If you guys do have leads that are assigned out, keep in mind your filters under your team profile will also differ. So if we click on our filters and scroll down, you'll notice that you also have an ownership and assignee option on your filter platforms. Branded to me will be on everything. That just means that they have a consumer login. But as far as ownership, you'll notice that you can do owned by me, owned by the team, or by a peer. And then assignee, I'm the primary collaborator, and then specific members of your team. You will have access to that no matter who you are logged in under. As far as the Rainmaker goes, the Rainmaker does have access to view other contacts that have been added into the team database, and anybody with enhanced permissions or higher will also have this option where they can select on people on the team, and they will see contacts that have been added into the team account as long as they fit whatever the filters are set up. So if you guys are looking for other contacts, maybe you're on a spouse team and your spouse imported 150 contacts under the team and you're trying to locate them, you're trying to share those contacts, you can essentially pull it up under your spouse's name here and you'll have access to it as long as you have enhanced permissions or higher. Again, ton of information. So that's pretty much it for contacts. Last but not least, we're going to go over opportunities just so I can show you guys kind of what that looks like, especially with the amount of teams that are signing up and essentially becoming a part of Keller Williams. I want to make sure that you guys know how to actually start your transactions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the handshake icon on the left-hand side. And once we click on that, you'll notice that I do still technically have a toggleable option. However, the opportunities itself will not be related to what profile you're on, which is great. You actually select it manually as you create an opportunity. So it doesn't matter what profile you're on, thankfully. However, one thing I do want to mention is if you are on a team and your Rainmaker has essentially disabled personal opportunities, we touched upon that very briefly earlier. If they have no selected under opportunity settings, you are likely not seeing a tab with your name. You're likely only seeing a tab with the team name. That is completely fine. That just means that the opportunities are meant to be run under the team platform, which again, that's how most teams function. So again, completely fine. But when it comes time to create the opportunity, I want to show you guys what that's going to look like. That way you don't panic, just in case you haven't created one yet under the team. So if I go ahead and click on create opportunity, you'll notice first it selects my market center. If you're associated with more than one market center, you will want to make sure that you manually select the one that this transaction should be funneled through. Even if you're on a team in both market centers, the market center will still depict which office or which market center staff have access to this transaction for compliance. So making sure you guys select the correct one, very important. Then for our team, you'll notice that we have the team name populating. The Rainmaker, how she is set up with permissions right now, she has access to remove the team. If you cannot X out of the team, it just means that all of your opportunities are meant to be run through the team. Again, completely fine. Another thing that you will notice when you have the team name selected is that the owner will be the Rainmaker. If you have multiple Rainmakers on the team, this will likely be a drop-down list where you can select who the owner should be. Some teams I've seen, they have a Rainmaker that kind of handles the buyer's agents and a Rainmaker that kind of handles the listing agents. If you guys are in that sort of situation, you would just select whichever owner it should be, and you'd go from there. You will notice that you will not own your own opportunities. Don't panic. It just means that they're being run through the team. You will still have unlimited access to the opportunity itself. So for this one, I'm just going to leave it as listing, but you would select whichever opportunity type you need. And then I'm going to go ahead and select a client. We know Rachel Green is in here. And again, anytime you guys type in a client name and you guys are on the team, this person needs to be in the team database. And I'm just going to put test here. If you guys are using custom tags, you can plug those in as well. And then you would just want to make sure that you add in a commission rate and then any opportunity phase or stage that applies. You'll notice all the way down at the bottom, we have an assignee section. If you are a transaction coordinator and you are taking care of entering/creating opportunities for agents on your team, you'll want to make sure that you are manually adding them as an assignee. So this will show up on their opportunity pipeline automatically. So in other words, if I want to make sure this is Leah's client, I'm adding it in for her, she's on vacation, or I'm just handling getting it added as a transaction coordinator, whatever it may be, make sure you're adding that person on. Or if you happen to be creating your own opportunity and you have a transaction coordinator, make sure that you're selecting them as an assignee, because again, this is going to give them access to that opportunity. The only person who has unlimited access to see every opportunity without being assigned is the Rainmaker. So now that I've assigned my person, I can go ahead and click create. And once that's done, it brings us right into the opportunity. So a couple of things I want to go over as far as the team aspects versus a personal opportunity. First things first, if you decide that you want to add an assignee on later on, again, don't panic. This can be edited at any point in time. So you can add or remove people from an opportunity at any point in time. All you would want to do is click on our pencil right here, and you'll notice that you have access to add and remove people to this opportunity. If I remove Leah from this opportunity, she will have her access removed from the opportunity entirely. It won't show up on our pipeline. She won't have access to it anywhere. If she is added to the opportunity, it's going to show up on her pipeline based on the actual phase and stage. And it's also going to give her access to all of the hoopla within the opportunity. So she'll have access to add documents for you. You guys can use the discussion board. She'll have access to the checklists, literally everything. So it's kind of an all or nothing situation as of right now with opportunities. But just so you guys know, if they do need access, just make sure they're assigned. For the other team options that are available under this page specifically, top right-hand corner, we have our checklists. If you guys have not yet started using checklists and you are associated with a team, I 100% recommend looking into it. We do have a tip video that goes over this much more extensively than what I'll be covering today. However, it's a checklist. It's essentially a way for you guys to assign tasks out to people on the team through that opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this just to show you guys what it looks like. This team has already gone ahead and created customized checklists. I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a second too. Don't worry. But once this does come up, say I want to assign this out to Leah, I can go ahead and check it off. Once I give it a due date, it will become live. If I do not set a due date, it will essentially vanish the second I click close. So when you guys are assigning something on a checklist out to an agent, make sure that you actually assign it, set a due date, and then you guys can close it out. You'll notice that checklists do also change based on the actual stage that you are in, which is fantastic because this allows you guys to make them as specific as you guys want. We also have client updates. This is exactly what we went over under settings as well. This is the same as your personal profile. It just allows you guys to also run them through the team. So if you guys are using client updates, this is where they are, and you can essentially check everything off that you need. We also have discussion. So discussion is a chat platform, pretty neat. It allows you guys to just communicate with each other as a team. So if I go ahead and click on discussion, I can create a discussion and essentially loop in anybody who has access to this opportunity. So as of right now, it's Connie and Leah. So I can go ahead and do like at Leah task assigned and send it. And this is going to ping Leah, letting her know that Connie just sent this through. Leah can then pull this up on the same opportunity and like it. They can reply back. They can do whatever they need to. This is a great way to kind of communicate in regards to opportunities. Think of it as like an electronic post-it. It's a great way for you just to kind of keep notes, kind of communicate back and forth, especially if you guys are using a transaction coordinator or you have an administrative staff that is kind of helping with opportunities, making sure things are taken care of for open houses, whatever it may be. This is a great way to communicate that right through the opportunity itself. So everything is nestled in one place. This is also something that only the team will have access to. This is not something that a client is going to accidentally stumble upon. It is 100% for the team and for the Keller Williams agents / staff members. Go ahead and X out of that. The next thing I'm going to show you guys is just how to actually update checklists. So I'm going to go back to my opportunities. And in order to access kind of like the editable platform for your checklists, all you need to do is select the area in which you're trying to create the checklist for. So you'll notice we have multiple opportunity sections here. Yours may also differ as these are going to be customizable. I'm going to show you guys how to do that as well during the checklist. But depending on where you guys want to start, I would recommend starting with the first one just so you can kind of build up from there. But you would select the icon. And once you guys are in here, you'll see all of your existing opportunities that fall under those stages. But on the top right, we have edit stages. And when we click on edit stages, this is going to allow us to not only edit the stage, but also edit the phase, and the checklists are all right here. And you guys have access to come in here, click on the checklist, add, remove, whatever it may be. So this is where you guys can actually customize this information. You guys have access to edit and delete what's already there. You can add customized items. You also have access to add entire stages. So if you guys want to make this a little bit more specific as far as the stages go, this is where it is. I've also seen teams kind of break it down a little bit further and just make them more generic. That way it's less confusing when you guys are setting up checklists. That is also completely fine. Opportunities, those entire stages and phases and everything are based off of what works for you guys. So if you want less or more, you guys can come in here and tweak them. You can also change the order of them, edit, delete. You have full access to all of that. Go back to here. In regards to opportunities, same thing applies for your personal opportunities that you're creating. You guys do have access to essentially drag and drop where you guys want this to populate. You also have access, I'm gonna grab my Rachel Green, to switch the entire stage entirely. So in other words, Rachel's under cultivate, meet acquaintance. I can drop her right under active, and it's going to move her over to the active tab. And it automatically drops them in the first column. So if you are dragging and dropping from tab to tab, just make sure you do end up on this tab to make sure that they're actually in the right stage once you're in here. But you guys do have the same access that you do on a personal profile. So that's something to keep in mind as well. That is pretty much it for opportunities. As far as the Teams platforms go, keep in mind that the Teams platform is consistently being updated. So there are some new stuff that's coming out regularly. In regards to the marketing that is available for Teams, I'm going to jump into Smart Plans really quick just to show you guys what that looks like. I know we're going over, so I apologize. But I'm just going to show you guys really quick what the Smart Plans look like, because this is a great tool for Teams. And I know that a lot of teams, if you guys are not using this, it's a way for you guys to nurture your clients without having to worry about sending out emails, text messages manually. This is going to kind of take care of all of that for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our Smart Plans. And this is also something that we'll be going over next month on the Teams class. I'm going to do marketing specifically. So website, Smart Plans, campaigns, all of that. excuse me. Okay, once we're on our smart plans section, on the top right-hand corner, this will depict which smart plans you are seeing, whether or not you're on your personal or your team profile. If you're on your personal, I recommend switching over to your team just so you can see how things are set up currently. Generally, what is going to happen is depending on your permissions, you may not have access to create a new smart plan. You also may not have access to make edits to existing smart plans. If that's the case and you should have access, touch base with your Rainmaker and they can tweak your permissions. Keep in mind that permissions list is right at the top of the notes. Again, this is hyperlinked in the recording if you guys are watching the recording. But understanding team permissions and the permission levels, just make sure that your permissions are set up in a way that you'll have access to what you need access to, especially if you're working as like a marketing assistant, administrative assistant, transaction coordinator, any of those roles, you'll want to make sure that you do have adequate permissions set up so you can get in here and make edits. But as far as the smart plans go, the actual platform itself is going to work the exact same way as your personal profile, which is fantastic. So you don't have to relearn a system. However, it's just more so making sure that when you guys are creating a smart plan, you understand that if you're on that team profile, it's going to be under the team. If you're on your personal profile, it's going to be on your personal profile. This means the contacts in your personal profile can go to smart plans on your personal profile. Contacts on your team would need to be added to team smart plans. So just kind of something to keep in mind. In regards to smart plans, if you haven't started dabbling with this, we do have a smart plans class that I believe is hyperlinked in the notes. I'll double check. If not, I'll get that added for you guys right after class. But we do have a smart plans class that just goes over how to navigate smart plans as a whole. The library available for everybody. If you guys click on the library, this is where all of the shared smart plans, Keller Williams provided smart plans, top rated, what's new. These are all available for you guys to grab. You guys can use these, you can change them, you can edit them, you have full editability on all of these plans, and you can come in here and kind of make them your own. With smart plans, a couple things to keep in mind. First off, anytime you guys are setting up a smart plan, make sure that you set yourself up on the smart plan before adding clients. Even if you manually set it up yourself and you know it has all of your information, set yourself up first, just to make sure you know what it's going to look like before you start bulk adding contacts to it. If you are coming in here and you're snagging anything from top rated, what's new, or the top one featured, 100% comb through that smart plan before you start adding anybody to it. Just in case the person who did originally create it happened to add their personal contact information or their marketing materials, it will allow you to kind of comb through it, make sure your phone number is added, make sure your website URL is added, and it will essentially plug all of that information in for you. As far as the Keller Williams provided smart plans, we deep dive into this for the smart plans class. These are less editable. So if you guys are using a Keller Williams provided plan, they're essentially going to be unbranded, which is perfect. However, if you guys are looking for something a little bit more unique, maybe you want something happy holidays, Halloween, back to school, these are plans that have been created by your peers. These are either created by other agents, market center staff. There's a lot of coaches out there that are creating plans and essentially sharing them with the Keller Williams network. So instead of needing to recreate the wheel, you guys can come in here and kind of use the smart plan that they've shared with you and manipulate it to have your information, swap out a design or two if you want, change the text or the verbiage on an email, completely doable. But knowing that these are here, definitely dive in here if you guys have not already. When it comes to adding a smart plan, you would just click on add smart plan. This will come up. You can rename it whatever you'd like and then download it. And all that's going to do is add it to whatever smart plans platform you're on. So right now I'm on the team profile, so it's going to add it to my team plans. Once you guys do that, as long as you are set up with enhanced or unlimited permissions, you guys will have access to then go ahead and make edits. You also have access to preview exactly what's going to be going out by clicking on that little arrow. So just kind of keep that in mind if you guys haven't done that already, but I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that team smart plans versus personal smart plans, it will depend on which profile you guys are on. That pretty much sums everything up. There are a ton of notes that I have dropped in the chat, and I'll drop those in the chat for you guys again, for everybody on the live class. Anybody who is watching the recording, again, they are all hyperlinked underneath the recording. If you guys start to play around with this and there's something that you're looking to do, you're unsure how to do it, please feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com, and we can always take a look at the account. We will generally need the Rainmaker login in order to see how things are set up, just in case. But if you guys have questions and you're just unsure how to navigate something, just let us know, and we can always send over some feedback and at least help you guys get started. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday and enjoy what's left of your week.